Hello friends, welcome. I'm really glad you're here with me today. So, do you have any special things at Christmas that you collect or are just drawn to at Christmas time? So, my daughter loves gingerbread men, and her mother in law collects snowmen, and her house is just covered with snowmen. But my sister in law, she loves nutcrackers. So every time I see nutcrackers, I think of my sweet sister-in-law. Her house just has so many beautiful nutcrackers. So when I saw Whimsy Stamps, the Nutcracker stamp set, I was like, okay, I've got to make some nutcracker cards for Christmas for my sister-in-law. So let's go ahead and get our camera changed, and I will show you the project I came up for my nutcracker cards. All right, so here it is, and I just love making fun shakers at Christmas time. Several of my cards this Christmas season have been shakers, and so I have made a shaker nutcracker card. So let me show you the products I'm using. This is the Nutcracker stamp set, and isn't that fun? Look at those cute little guys. And one of my favorite things is Merry Christmas from the Nut House. And if you look at my card here on the inside, I have made a decorative part for the inside as well. Often I leave my insides blank so I can write in them, but for this one, I had to use that fun phrase because around Christmas time especially, my house gets a little nutty. So, okay, then this is the Peekaboo window die number 5. So Whimsy Stamps has several Peekaboo windows, which are just kind of like little grid dies, but this one is number 5. For my sample here that I've already made, I used this fun set called You're My Jolly, where you can just combine words here to make different Christmas sayings. But for my cards today, I'm going to be using a different one than this, but I did want to show you where this Christmas word came from. I did use the Simple Sentiment Strips Holidays just to get my little Merry. So I just stamped out the Merry Christmas and then just cut off the Merry. For one of mine today, I'm using the Happy New Year, and I just cut off the word happy because I just wanted it to say happy. Now from this set, the little gingerbread men, I'm just using all the little candies. And from my Santa friends, I'm using this fun little holly spray. So many of my Christmas cards this season have used some of the same sets, just the same little pieces from it. I am using a piece of paper from the Blurry Flurries today. And for my, instead of using the word Christmas, I'm going to be using these slimline bunting dies, and specifically this one. And we're going to do some fun things with that. And then to start off, we're going to use this It's Snowing stencil. So lots of products. Good morning, Tamara. How are you today? All right, so to get started, we're going to make a couple backgrounds. So let me grab a couple pieces of paper here. And this is just cut down to 4 1/4. And we'll get our stencil ready to go. We're going to create ourselves some backgrounds. I like to use this gel mat just to hold my paper in place while I stencil. And the first one I'm going to do, we're going to make lots of different snowflakes. And I'm going to use a couple different colors to create my background. We're going to use the Salvage Patina and the Chipped Sapphire. And we're just going to randomly put some snowfall in our background here. There we go. And I'm just going to be really random about this. I don't want anything that looks too planned out. Randomly, there we go. I kind of like that one over there. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to come in with some darker. And these, I'm going to do this pretty light. So I'm going to tap off over here on some paper I've got. And let's see. Maybe we'll do this big one. And I'm going to let these overlap. Go. Let's see. Kind of liking this one down here. Let's get that one in there. I need a little more ink. Just tapping off. Now you may have noticed I pretty much just put my, whoops, let's do this one right here because it looks like well, that'll be okay. Okay, so you can see I've pretty much just put my snowflakes on this top 2/3 of my paper. And that's because I'm going to make a snow hill down here, so I'm not going to need that. But now that I've got my larger snowflakes, I'm going to take this little section that looks like a smaller snow, and I'm just going to put in some of that as well. I'm just going over the top of my bigger snowflakes, and I'm doing this with my lighter Salvage Patina color. And I'm going to move it down a little bit because it's only long enough to do a portion there. So go ahead and put in some more. Okay. All right. It's looking pretty good. I'm not going to add any more ink. I'm just going to add in a few of those darker. And same down here on this end. All right, so isn't that fun how you can make using this stencil, because there's just so many big ones, and then you can go over just so many choices of different snowflakes. I love how that turned out. I'm going to add one more right here. Yeah. All right. So that's all that I'm going to need for this background. So let's go ahead and switch. We're going to be making 2 cards today. And for this one, I'm going to get one of my peekaboo frames. Grab it over here. And I'm going to make myself just a few little marks. So let me grab my pencil. And I'm just putting a couple very tiny little marks, and those are going to get erased. But I want my different windows to have a different color. So I'm making myself just some little marks so I can see where these bars are that go down the center. And for this card, we're going to be using the Kitsch Flamingo and the Twisted Citron. And I think, let's put this Twisted Citron. I need to grab just a piece of paper to tap off. So here's and I'm just going to blend that right up the middle here. All right, that's pretty good. I can see on the camera it doesn't look too deep, but I'm trying to get that to go over so it just goes over that first line that I drew. So I'm going to lay that over just to make sure that I got that pretty good. Okay, now the other 2 we're going to do with the Kitsch Flamingo. Lid on that. I'm just going to tap off over there, and then from the bottom. And Kitsch Flamingo is a much lighter color, so I think I can. Now I know my edges are going to be covered up with my frame, so it's okay if some of those look a little darker. Alright, and my purpose is not to blend, because I know my frame's going to cover that up. So the purpose is more to get color behind those windows. Now, I'm going to come back with my stencil, and I'm going to clean off the blue real quick. I'm just going to spray that. Here, I got some alcohol. I'm just going to spray this with alcohol so that I can clean that blue off. I don't want to accidentally get blue on my pink. Yeah, quite a bit of blue came off. Okay. Now I want to add, and I'm not going to tap off this time because I want my little pink circles to be a tad darker. Ooh, I like it. That's looking really good. Okay. Do the same over here on the other side. So we're just creating a fun background for our shaker. I think the green one, I'm going to leave that clear. And I'll clean up my stencil later, so pop that over there. And I think we're good with our background, so let's move on. So is everyone ready for Christmas? Do you have your shopping done, your presents wrapped? Do you have a plan for baking? I'm so behind, y'all. It just seems like it went really fast between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. So, okay, here's my background for this card, and here's my background for the other. And we're going to make two very different cards, but both of them are going to be Nutcracker cards. All right, I'm just getting my pieces separated over here. Now for this one, whoops, I have already added some acetate. So on the back side, I put some double-sided adhesive, and then I put my acetate, and then I put my thin foam. So that one is going to go right over here. But for this one, we're going to do that a little bit differently. So on the back side, I already have my double-sided adhesive put down. And what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pull that, if I can get it off of there. I think I told you earlier how my nails are just really brittle right now. It makes it really hard to get a hold of these little string or the little top papers. Let's see. I'm going to have to come in with this. There we go. Pull these off. Now this top one I'm not quite ready for, but I have gone ahead and cut myself a piece that I want to be my snow. So I'm going to put that right here. And then trim off this piece. Now before I add my acetate, I'm going to come back in with my double-sided adhesive and go ahead and add that right here. Whoops, got that upside down. There we go. All right, so just where that, I'm also going to put some along the top edge of my snow. I'm not sure if I would have to do that, but that will just make sure that it stays down well. There we go. Come in with my bone folder. All right, just going to grab a piece of acetate. pull off all these pieces and we'll add that. I'm not used to having to use a tool to pull the papers off, so it's very awkward to me. I see some people, that's their norm, and boy, they can just pull that off so quick, and I feel silly. Okay, got those all off. Now I'm going to add my acetate, and this acetate is too large, and I didn't cut it down to size on purpose. I'm going to put that on, just like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and just trim around my frame so that that just fits real square right from the beginning. To me, this is easier than trying to line it up and not get any gaps. Sorry, I have a piece stuck on my scissors. Static electricity is making it stick to my arm. And right along here, trim it one more time on this side. So. All right, so now we have this one. And our snow is in front of the acetate. See how that, okay. And this was all the same piece of paper. One side, it is double-sided, so I just reversed the two sides, but isn't that pretty? All right, we're gonna go ahead and add our thin strips of foam. And this is the way I like to do it. I do the cross bars, up and down bars first, making sure that my foam goes just past where the top meets the bottom, leaving room along the cross top edge to put another piece. I found that this makes it very quick. And it also ensures that there's no gaps and stuff. So I have not been keeping up here with the comments. So in just a moment, I will chat with y'all there. All right. I have 2 cards to make today. And I want to make sure I get to everything. So I'm focused. Oh, thank you, Tamara. You said these are cute. Nope, that one's too short. Let's see, do I have another one that'll go the distance? Nope, I'm gonna have to. There we go. Okay, of course with a shaker you want to make sure you don't have any gaps and nothing's gonna fall through. Right here I'm going to make sure that meets up real well. Okay, all right, so our shaker, both of our shakers are ready. So this one I had done in advance. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and add our goodies inside, and then we'll get to the next part. So let me see here. For this one, I have some different candies and pinks and things like that. So we're going to add a little of that to each window. I love these little candies, and I believe that these came from this Calls for Confetti. I'm not sure if they still have these. I've had these in my stash for a while. But I'm just going to add a few to each window. And I don't want these to overlap, because if they do, I think they would be too thick to shake. So I want to make sure those are not stacked up. There we go. Now I'm going to put in some of these discs. You've only done one shaker, and the sticky side supposed to like a bunch of. Oh yeah, yeah. The more I do them, the more little, I don't want to say tricks, but you just learn kind of how you want to what makes it easier for you, I guess. Now, I don't want any of those blue ones. I don't know how I mixed up the blue ones inside the pink ones, but I did. So I'm avoiding those blue ones. I want to keep this card more pink. So here's another one. Okay. And then for my last ones, I'm going to avoid the yellow ones. I just want some of those little pink sprinkles. So if I get any of the yellow ones, I'm going to pick those out. I don't need many, just a few in each window. You know what? These have yellow, so maybe it wouldn't matter if those are in there. Huh, I didn't think of that, so I'm not going to worry about that. If it gets a few of the yellows, I think that's okay. Okay. All right, so this one is ready. To put these on, I'm going to go ahead and remove each of the strips here. Oops. I'll try to keep my pieces here in the center. I don't want my little fancies here to end up on the sticky, so I'm trying to push those towards the center. Now that little thing is too big. I have to remove that. They're pretty, but they're too thick for my foam is not thick enough to handle those. They were like little clear balls. That was in one of the mixes. You're addressing Christmas card. Whoa! Hold on. That's stuck under a piece of foam there, and it caused it to bounce. You can be so careful, and then one little thing. I have to get those off that sticky. Well, that could have been way worse, because the way that bounced, a whole bunch of them could have popped up there, and it looks like I just have a few. Off, and that one. But there we go. All right, and now it looks like we just have one more to pull off. The static electricity is really strong in my craft room today. All right, so let's see if we can get this lined up right here. Okay. See how this one did? There we go. Yay, look at that. And I love those candy sprinkles. What do you think? I think this one may end up being my favorite. Now, this next one I think will be a tad easier. And one thing I am going to do, I'm going to take some of my foam, and in between here, along the snow, that was wide enough. Nope. I don't want my pretties, my shaker bits, to go below the snow. So I am going to add a piece of foam that goes along the top edge of my little snow hill. Okay. All right, there we go. All right. Now for this one, I have a few others I've pulled out of my stash, and I've just got some silvery ones, some blue, and these are little snowflakes. And all of these two definitely came from this Calls for Confetti. This one, I'm not sure where I found that one. It's very likely it came from there because I get quite a few from them. But it's in a different type of bag, so I'm not real sure. Let's see. Okay, so the way I have the sides of the foam not show, You can see here on this one, you see I stuck it only on the blue. Okay, and you can see blue on either side of the foam all the way around. So everything that's behind the blue, I know doesn't show on the front side. Now, the way you get it not to stick to your innards, you know, your bits that you put in there, that's just kind of tricky. You saw how I had to kind of make sure they weren't sticking. But there is a tool that is sold by This Calls for Confetti called It's No Secret, and it's an anti-static tool. The force is with you. That's funny. That's how I feel. Yeah, I got it on there. But you can take this little tool, put it down in your bags, which I've already done this, so that's why I didn't do this step. But you put it down in there and just kind of shake it around, and that takes out some of the static, and that will help them from sticking. Another thing you can do is run this along just gently run it along the edges of your foam before you take the top tape off, because you want the top part to stick, but the edges you don't. So you can just run this along your things, and that will kind of help keep your shaker bits from sticking to the edges. So that's just a little tip, and that kind of helps. You don't want to tap it in there too much though, because if you get too much powder in there, you're going to see that powder on your window. So let's see how we do with number 2. Here, let's see here. First, I'm going to add a little bit of the snow in each one. And you can buy these kinds of things already mixed. Oh, you meant on the outside. On the outside. I'm not sure what you mean, Tamara. How to get it to stick to the outside. I'm not sure. I have a dyslexic brain, and sometimes inside I'm not sure where you mean. All right, so I've just added a little bit of snow into each one. And now we're going to add just a little drop of each of these. Whoa, a little too many there. Let me see if I can switch some of those down here. All right, and the last will be a few blue into each one. All right. Now, same thing, we're just going to gently remove all of these and see if we can't add our back side. It's kind of nice having this snow piece in here. It gives me a place to hang on without putting my fingerprint on my acetate. Alright, so this one I'm going to kind of do that trick where I fold it over. I'll do the same on this one. Okay. Alright, now on this one it does matter. There is an upside down and a right side up. So our snow, we want the white spot here under the snow. So I have to pay attention to that. And I like to line up the corners first. And usually if I get the corners lined up, I'm pretty lucky. Let's see if the force is still with me. Ah, nope, I got it off a little bit up there, so we'll have to do some trimming, but it still is all covered up. So there we go. So you can see I have some white showing, so we'll have to do a little bit of trimming. But as long as all your foam is covered up with paper, you know that nothing's going to come out. So the edge of the paper, okay, I meant the outside. I guess you trim the tape so you have enough of the edge protecting the stickiness of the foam. Yes, yes, I think I think I'm understanding what you mean. Let me go ahead and get rid of all this trash so that we can move on to the next step. But hopefully watching me do it, I kind of answered your question, because I'm not still, I'm not understanding. But I love how our stenciled backgrounds, our shaker bits, see, we did the exact same thing, but by using different products, we have a totally different look. So that's one of my favorite things, a stamp set that you can, and products that you can just get totally different looks depending on what you choose to use. Okay, so let's look at some of these fun nutcrackers that I have colored up. Here's my kind of little, what I think of my little marching band, and they're going to go with my blue card. And then over here, I've got this fun one colored up in some pinks and greens to go with this one. So my bunting that I had cut earlier, it comes out a very, you get two strips like this added together, and there's two of them. Now I have cut those down so that I have a bunting that looks like this. And for this card, I have gone ahead and I have stamped the letters Yummy. So let's go ahead and stamp our message on this one, and I will show you what I used. This is a product that's been out for a while, and you can pick them up at your local stores, but it's really fun because you can pull them apart and use and click them back together to make any word. So for the word yummy, I also have a set that's blue. So for the word yummy, you only need 3 letters. So I have already stamped that one. But for this one, we're going to use the word holiday. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp this in black. And there we go. So this is just a fun way. Now, if you had stickers that were small enough to go in here, that would work. You could even use a pin. One thing you have to be careful when you're using these, you don't want to have it upside down. So if this letter here is the right way, then your stamp is the right way. But you could even use like a marker and write on here yourself rather than stamping. All right. There's our holiday word all ready to go. I'm going to set these aside over here and clean them off later on. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and finish out decorating our Nutcracker shakers. So here are, you can recognize some of the pieces that I pointed to you in the stamp sets. And let's go ahead and do this one first. And for this little red one, I have gone ahead and added some foam on the back. But I'm going to add a little bit of glue. All right, and he's going to go right here in the middle. For our word holiday, I'm going to put it right up here, but see how I've cut the little ends? I'm going to give them a little bit of space because I want them to be held on here with our pretty little green pieces. So I want this to go in a mailing envelope, so I want my green pieces to more be on the card itself. So, and then I will place my other two, just like I said, my little marching band here ready to go. And then I'm going to just add the word happy right in here. All right, so this is how I'm going to design this one. So let's go ahead and add some glue to the back of this. I'm just trying to kind of center my, having to hold him down. He's wanting to pop back up. Oh, I'm so glad you like it, Tamara. I had fun making these. Like I said, these nutcrackers are really fun to color. They're just cute little guys. Sometimes nutcrackers, their faces, I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes I don't think they're so cute. But this one, I just really like him. He's very cute. Whimsy has some fantastic artists that create their stamps. All right. And because this is on acetate, you've got to let that dry. Okay. And again, right over here. All right. So we're going to set this one aside, let that dry while we finish this one up. And we're going to put our little baker here on the side, or the section that's got the green in the background. And for this one, I have some candies. I have stamped a little circle that says Sweet Holiday Wishes. And I believe this comes from our Santa and Friends set, if I remember right. And a couple more garland. I did get one of these cute little mice, and I believe he comes from the Santa and Friends set as well. And let's go ahead and decorate this one. Okay. And again, when I hang this, I'm going to let it be just slightly down, because I want to add my greenery on there. And the same as before. And may stick off just a little bit, but that's okay. Okay. I'm going to put just a little bit of foam on the back of this fella. Now, I'm going to have to use these strips because I can't find my other foam. My craft room, it's an understatement to say it's in disarray. It's downright a mess. I had a friend come over to make Christmas cards with me, and I transferred a lot of my supplies downstairs to my dining room so that we could sit together. And then I brought it up. It's just all over the place. It's a mess. So I need to tidy up so I can find things. Oh, isn't he cute? I love this one. Okay, let's add a couple presents on either side of him, and then we're going to add some candy. And over here, we'll put our little mouse. All right, that's kind of my design for this one. So I'm going to put my, and I'm kind of decorating them in quadrants here, or, the 3 different squares, but I kind of want my candy cane to go behind my present. Probably should have put the candy cane on first. So it's a little bit behind. And then this piece of candy is going to go right here. There we go. And I'll probably put a little bit of foam on the back of my mice, and the same thing over here. Go. And over here, about right here, is where I'm going to put the Sweet Holiday Wishes. Just kind of tucking it in right there behind his. Let's see. put that on there to hold that down, and we'll add a little piece of foam onto our mouse. And he'll stand right here. All right, so here's the outside of our two shakers. But very quickly, let's do the inside of our holiday card. Let's see. So from our Nut House stamp set, I'm sorry, not Nut House, the Nutcracker, that's what it's called. We're just gonna stamp from the Nut House inside in black. And I'm going to do this in Memento ink because I'm going to color that with my Copics. And normally I kind of lay this out to make sure I get it straight and centered, but that's pretty good. For doing it for y'all, I was doing it a little quick. All right, now we're just going to take our two blues that we used and let's stamp a few snowflakes. Right. And there are two snowflakes in this set, so I'm just going to mix them up a little bit. Let's see, I think I want it over here. Maybe, whoops, just maybe do one more down here. All right, and now I will take my markers and just color in the word Nut House. And I am going to use two markers, the R59. And I'm just going to flick up from the bottom of my letters. And then I'll use let's use an R46, that'll work. And we'll just go ahead and blend those together. So our letters have a little bit of two-tone to them. I think I used R29 in my first card, but it wasn't handy. I've got it somewhere else. Like I said, my craft room is in disarray. There we go. All right, from the Nut House. So we're just going to go ahead and add our card fronts onto our card. You like the little bitty mouse? Me too, he's so cute. All right, so here are our two shakers. Our Nutcracker shakers. I love them. I really love how those stenciled and inked backgrounds kind of add to your shaker bits, and just they look very festive and fun and very, what's the right word? Nutcrackery. They look nutcrackery. And I love the bunting. I like the bunting better than the Christmas word. Just it gives more of a parade kind of feeling. I don't know. But those are my cards for today. I hope you enjoyed making these. Let me switch my camera back real quick. Thanks so much for joining me, and it helps us so much if you give it a thumbs up, and we love all your comments. Thanks so much for interacting with me. And oh, Bonnie, I see you're in there. So I love just being able to talk to you all while I craft. So I hope you all have a Merry Christmas, and I'll be back with you next Thursday. Have a great day. Bye bye.